vote. Okay, that motion passes by a 5-0 vote. Number 6, which I know most of you all are here for, we're going to move to the end of the agenda because the rest of them will go fairly quickly. So the next item is the consent agenda. It's recommended that the following items be approved and that the city manager be authorized to execute all documents necessary for each transaction. A is to purchase emergency response medical supplies, and B is to purchase emergency response equipment supplies. I believe both of these, Mr. Atkinson, are for replacement on supplies that have passed their expiration date.
That's correct, Mayor, and both of these are funded through the federal grant program that allows to provide these to first responders.
The next item is to award high service water pump repair. D is to approve tax abatement agreement for Zargus. And that's all on the consent agenda. I think we're real proud of what's going on in the city of Amarillo and what the AEDC has brought to our community fairly recently with our wind energy opportunities and manufacturing. And so letter A is a tax abatement approval issue. And I think, Mr. David, did you want to speak to that? Tim's here. Is Tim Channel here? I can't see the forest for good trees sometimes. Glad you're here.
Mayor and Commission, this item is a tax abatement request from Zargus Tedesco. If you recall, we established the tax reinvestment zone in the Centerport Business Park several months ago, and also was here before you for a similar request. At this time, Zargus is making a similar request as we anticipated other companies coming into the park would do, and it's here for your consideration. This item's already been before the Amarillo College Board, and they have approved it. It's been through the Water Board, and they have approved it. It will go before Otter County Commission in 2 weeks, I believe, for their consideration before the end of the year. And that's a critical piece that it be considered and approved or disapproved before the end of the year, because after that time we expect to see the building complete, and then it would be too late to make the request. And Mr. Tim Daniels is here, who's the managing director of Zargus. He'd certainly be happy to answer questions too if you have them. The most important item on here is because this is a request to abate taxes over a 10-year period. The total amount is anticipated to be about $85,800 a year for all taxing districts. The city's portion of that's a little over $24,000 a year. I would point out to you that in the analysis that's been done with our model from the Pyramid Group, that the anticipated local government revenue to all jurisdictions, and that's all kinds of taxes, fees, and so forth, is about $3.5 million a year. From that, you can deduct $5,000. So it is a good opportunity. The project is under construction, and we're very pleased to have it in our community.
Absolutely, all right. Mr. Downs, do you mind coming up here so everyone can put a face to a name? And we are so proud to have Zargus in our community now. Is your title executive director, CEO? Or?
Any of those.
Any of those. Okay.
Managing director is my official title, yes.
Can you tell us what Zargus does?
Of course, yes. And first, I want to thank the I want to thank the city of Amarillo. You guys have kind of rolled out the welcome mat, and we looked at several cities throughout the country when we started this project, and it was clear where we needed to be. And it was clear from the first discussion and up to where we are today. So thank you to everybody, to the community of Amarillo. We've already pumped in hundreds of thousands of dollars in the community through payroll and suppliers and other things. So we're excited to be here. Zargus is a design and manufacturing firm. We manufacture wind tower internal systems, everything that goes inside these large wind towers, elevator systems, platforms, all the electrical systems. And we work with all the big turbine companies across the country, GE, Vestas, Siemens, Clipper, Nordex, Repower, et cetera. In fact, I'll be in Chicago in the morning talking to Nordex about some big projects coming here. So that's what we do. It's a German-based company out of Wilhelm, Germany, which is near Munich, Germany. A global company. We have about 14 operating sites around the world. And this is our second site in the U.S. We have a sister operation in Charlotte, North Carolina, in a different operating unit. This is the first wind site division we have in the U.S. So that's what we do. It's a great company, bring German engineering expertise to here. We've got great employees in Amarillo already. We're excited about our new facility out in Centerport. Anytime, call me. I'd be happy to showcase what we've done and what we've done with the city and what we've done with the ADC.
Can you tell us what a tax abatement would mean to your new company here in Amarillo?
I think the tax abatement, the money aside is an intangible commitment from the city, I think, to us, and another step forward. It gives us the opportunity to use that money elsewhere, lack of a better situation where we can invest that in employees and in parts and in equipment and grow our business. And that's our goal in the next 3 to 5 years, is really grow that business. Argus has 4 operating units, and I've already told my goal is to bring 1 or 2 of those other operating units here and do that as soon as possible. So that's, any bit of money that we have, we want to invest in the company, and we do that obviously in a business startup. It's all about investment and continued reinvestment in the business.
We look so forward to working with you in the future, and so glad you picked Amarillo. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you, and thank you again to everybody, and we'll keep you posted, and you'll see a lot of the stuff. We'll have a big grand opening in the spring here when the weather gets a little better, and we'll see all of you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Daniels. Thank you so much. Sure appreciate it. Do we have any comments or questions from anyone in the audience about the entire consent agenda that you'd like to have a question on, or would like to take it out for separate consideration? Right? If not, do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move approval of consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes by 5-0 vote. Okay, let's finish do number 8, and we'll come to number 6. Discussion on proposed increase. This is so exciting. The City of Amarillo Police Department staff. Let's see. Is that something we read? Looks like it's something. Staff will present discussing. I tell you, Chief Taylor, we're so excited about this opportunity. We know that as a growing community, our responsibility is the safety of our citizens. And so this is a great step forward for us with your department. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please, sir?
Sure is, Mayor. In consultation with the city manager, we think we've come up with a way to add 6 officers to police departments to the academy. How we do that is take hopefully about $180,000 out of the general fund and $180,000 out of the police department's overtime budget, and move those into the salary budget, and that's enough to hire 6 officers. We also have a current CIP project that has enough funds in it to provide all the equipment for those officers and be able to have those 6 officers will be assigned to the patrol division. 4 of them being on what we call a tack shift or a 4 shift, and then 2 of them be assigned to the midnight shift. And so that will just increase the officers on the street.
In your next class, you're going to have this in June, and so that will open the spot for how many total candidates?
There'll be 6 additional. Right now, our projection is there will be about 25 people in the next academy.
And we know that not all make it through or whatever, but this is great news for us, and it's something that I think is important for us moving forward in the budget years to come, that we address the needs of the police department. And so I'm so glad you all were able to work this out, and that'll be great for us as a community.
We do. We certainly recommend get that work.
Right, great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chief. Thank you so much. Do we have any comments from the audience on this discussion? No? Okay. So it's not even a motion item. But we're so excited. We wanted you all to hear about this opportunity for the city to get some more additional police officers. So we're excited about that. Okay, let's go back to number 6. Well, most of you all are probably here. On the public hearing, Downtown Urban Design Standards. This public hearing is to receive input and comments regarding the downtown urban design standards as they relate to residential property. There's a couple of things before we get started. I wanted to mention, about 4 years ago, this commission sat down and decided downtown revitalization was critical to Amarillo. And we felt like it was so important to continue to work on this revitalization, and it's going to take a little while, but it's still important to all of us. And over the last several months, we've had the opportunity to meet with many of you all around the community, or you come to our city commission meetings. But at the same time, we don't feel like we've heard from everyone. So we wanted to give one more opportunity for this public hearing for or against the single-family residential dwellings that we have in that area for the urban design standards. So tonight is not a debate; it's a hearing. And we feel like most of you all have looked at the questions, you've had your questions answered. Over all of these months, all this time, hopefully everyone's had their questions answered. We are here to listen to what you all have to say. And after we take what we take away from you all, in the next couple of weeks, we will look at what you all said, and we will work through that and come back with a recommendation for the downtown group. I appreciate everyone being here. This is great to see such a good turnout. This is what we've been wanting to see. And sometimes you just have to pull a plug and say, let's hear from everyone. So we're glad to have you here. We want to hear from both sides. And if you come to the microphone, if you will give us your name and your address. And we're going to have 3 minutes. I'm going to let Vicki Covey tell you how that machine is going to work here. I haven't personally seen how it works out there, but we're going to listen to what you all have to say, and hopefully there will not be a debate with us up here. So hopefully your questions have been answered. We want to hear what you all have to say. It's very important for us to continue this momentum downtown. And my hope is that after the next 2 weeks that we can all work together and agree to what this commission comes up with after hearing numerous times what you all would like to see in this community. So we will work with you all. We're here to listen, and I appreciate everyone showing up. Vicki Covey is assistant manager here, and she has assistant city manager. And would you tell us how this time thing machine works up here?
Thank you, Mayor. As you stand at the podium, just below the microphones, there's a little digital timer. It will start at 3 minutes, and then it will click down. And so you can see that as you're speaking. And then there's little green lights and yellow lights and red lights. As you get to 30 seconds before the end of your 3 minutes, it will begin to beep. And keep talking, but at the end of that beeping, your 3 minutes will be up. And at the end of that time, I will call time. And since there are so many people that are here tonight, many of who probably want to say something, if you will be courteous and try to stay within that 3 minutes, everyone, I'm sure, will appreciate that, so that we can get home, at a reasonable hour tonight. But like I say, you can see it at the podium, and then it will begin to beep, and you will hear that. And then as we reset it, the next speaker will have the full 3 minutes. Great.
Before we get started, before Commissioner Sims reads off some names of some letters, I'd like to turn this over to Kelly Shaw, who's been working on this for a long, long time. He's going to give us just a brief overview of where we are with the single residential family units. Mr. Shaw, please, sir. I think they'll have the information. Do they have the information that's handed out?
We made several copies and passed out to everybody.
Thank you.
Certainly, Mayor. First, I thought what I'd like to do is just start off with the boundaries themselves. We have actually in the downtown area, we have 3 boundaries, and many of the discussions that I've heard in the public, sometimes the wrong boundary is substituted for the wrong topic. And so I thought I'd start out just by hopefully showing the boundaries and explain what they are. The blue boundary here, the larger boundary, is actually the boundary of the tax increment reinvestment zone, which was created several years ago. But that is the boundary for the tax increment reinvestment zone, and what the green boundary signifies is the downtown Amarillo urban design district boundary. And although it is within the tiers boundary, what we refer to the tax increment reinvestment zone, although it is within that boundary, it really doesn't have anything to do with the other. Within the green boundary, there is a smaller district, which is outlined in red here, which is actually identified in our downtown Amarillo urban design standards book as a single-family neighborhood district. So when we talk about the design standards and how they apply, we're talking about those properties within the green boundary and or the properties within the red boundary. We're really not talking about anything that has to do with the tax increment reinvestment zone. The next slide is, I think, important to remember when we talk about what the design standards actually apply to. I don't know why that popped up. boundary that you see here in yellow is the downtown Amarillo Urban Design District boundary. And what all the colors signify is the underlying zoning, or the zoning of these properties. One thing that the design standards do not address is actual land use. The zoning is still the overriding regulation that defines what can and can't be done as far as land use, and, you know, as far as, you know, can I have a home here? Can I operate a business here? Those types of questions. And as you can see, within the downtown urban design district, there are several different zonings. There's portions that are zoned heavy commercial, light commercial, which is orange, the downtown business core, which is central business district. We have some more light commercial on the eastern edge, also even some industrial zone properties on the far east and far west. The kind of the pea green shade, multi-family zoning with some of the areas that are shaded white. Those are planned developments, which the standards that apply to those areas are specific to that particular property as far as what's allowed and what's not. So there are several different zoning districts, and that still basically defines what you can and cannot do as far as land uses. The next slide that I wanted to go to would be actually, I wanted to remind everybody that a lot of the things that are associated with design standards involve a review. And what normally was required any time that you applied for a building permit was a review process. And a lot of the things that are reviewable by way of the design standards are based on what requires a permit. So in all of these areas, no matter what it's zoned currently or what is happening with the design standards, the building permit process has remained the same, whereas you would submit an application and whatever associated information was needed for a building permit, that building permit application and information would be reviewed and approved by the building safety department, and you would receive your building permit once it was approved. With the design standards, what would require a building permit if you're doing changes to the exterior of your property or your home, your business, anything that would require a permit before still does, but there is an added step that's included now with the design standards being approved, and that's the certificate of appropriateness process, which I've outlined here, where you still would submit your application and information to the building safety department for your normal building permit review. If your address was brought up and it was flagged as an address that's within the downtown design district, they would send you up to the planning department, where you would, we would ask what are you what you planning to do, and again, I want to make sure that this is only for exterior changes. It doesn't have to do with any interior changes or any remodel on the interior. It's all based on exterior changes. And for example, if you were changing, if you wanted to re-roof your house, we would ask for the same information that was required by the building safety department. You know, what type of materials are you using, those kinds of things, and if it was consistent with the nature of your building and consistent with the neighborhood, then we would sign off on that and submit that down to building safety to get your permit. So that is an extra step here that is required with the design standards as they've been approved, and then the last step again is to receive the building permit. So the design standards do add that extra step that you need to go through with your building permit review on the exterior changes. the last thing that I wanted to go over is to try as best I can to basically look at how these standards apply to single-family residential properties that are within the larger downtown Amarillo urban design district, and also as they apply to the single-family design district, which is that smaller boundary within the larger design district, and then also compare that to what would typically be required for a single-family home throughout the city with, that's in your typical single-family residential zoning. So basically, again, what we're talking about is a review procedure that comes into play with the design standards on certain improvements. New construction, and I hope the handouts help, because I know this is probably difficult to see on the screen, but for new construction, for example, that is something that would be reviewable under the design district standards. So it would be required, review would be required for the new construction under the larger district standards. Review would be required in the single-family district. As far as the typical single-family standards, for new construction, you would have to go through your normal building permit review process, which I outlined just previously. So there is review required for single-family residences as far as new construction citywide. If you talk about walkway improvements, which basically include improvements to the sidewalk that's within the right-of-way, review is required by the downtown design district standards, the single-family design district, and also, again, it would, although a sidewalk in and of itself doesn't require a building permit, they are required for new construction, for instance. That would just be part of your normal permit review to make sure that, yes, you do have sidewalks as part of the development. Landscaping, within the right-of-way, any changes to the landscaping would be subject to review in the downtown, the larger design district. Would be subject to review in the single-family design district. As far as the citywide and the single-family residential zoning, there are no landscaping requirements. Building edge improvements or improvements to the exterior of the buildings. And again, we're talking about those that require permits. That's subject to review by the larger design district standards, the single-family design district, and there really are no requirements as far as the exterior changes in the single-family residential standards, other than what would normally be required for things that would require a permit anyway. So if you were opening up adding on to the house or something, that would require a building permit and be subject to review. A lot of the next set here is the walkway standards. That's been brought up a lot in public hearings, in discussions out in the public that I've heard. But when we talk about walkway standards or the improvements that are required in that section of the urban design standards, basically what you're talking about is the requirement to put in sidewalks, install trees, and install pedestrian lights. The only time this would be required, and this goes for the larger design district as well as the smaller single-family design district, the only time that they would be required is for new construction. And that's ground-up construction. That's not in addition to a house. That's not an accessory building. It's basically brand-new construction. And so that's when they would be required. But it would be required both in the larger design district and the smaller single-family design district. As far as the sidewalk itself, if you're in the larger design district, the downtown design district, it would require a 7-foot sidewalk. If you're in the single-family district, it would require a 4-foot sidewalk. The reason there is because 4 foot is most typically found in the residential neighborhood. It's also what is required citywide, 4 feet, in other single-family zoning districts. As far as street trees, a minimum of 3-inch caliber was required, and they're required every 25 feet, both in the larger design district and in the single-family design district. As far as other citywide single-family districts, again, landscaping is is not required. The pedestrian lights, they're required every 50 feet in both the larger design district and single-family district. We don't require pedestrian lights in the citywide type single-family zoning district. But I think it's key to make sure it's understood that although these are required, they're only required when there's brand new construction or conversion of a vacant building. And that conversion of a vacant building would be something that's vacant for more than a year and it's converted to an entirely new use. For instance, if there was a vacant home in the single-family district and it was vacant for a year and a half, somebody came in, bought the house, and remodeled it, lived in it, it wouldn't kick in the walkway standards because it's not converting it to a new use. It's still a residential use. So that hopefully addresses the walkway standards. As far as other standards, there are certain other standards that are particular to that single-family district that are particularly applied to that district, saying that it is a neighborhood district, and its characteristics are somewhat different than the urban core. So I thought I'd list some of those. Again, the exterior changes, and it's important to note that, again, it's building permit based, but it does not include paint. Again, we don't get into colors or anything like that, but if you do make exterior changes to a structure, it is reviewable in both the downtown design district and the single-family district. And what is reviewed is that change in character with the urban form that's in the area or that particular building, and in the single-family district, is it consistent with other structures in the neighborhood and the historic character of that neighborhood. As far as the single-family districts, zoning districts citywide, yes, again, exterior changes depending on what you're doing, and if it requires a permit, it just goes through that normal review process for a building permit like new construction. Fencing has been talked about a lot. In the downtown district, the standards include it has to be quality materials are required. Masonry, wrought iron, and those kinds of things. It can't be a perimeter type fence or something that basically walls off the development. Chain link is not allowed. Security type fencing would not be allowed with new developments or that didn't already exist. I guess that's a good point to mention. If something already exists at this point in time, it's grandfathered, so to speak. These design standards don't require anybody to do anything. It's only if changes are made or something new is built. As far as fencing in the single-family district, it's just subject to the normal city standards for residential fencing. You can use any type of material, chain link, wood, whatever. It's just subject to the normal residential fencing standards. And that's what's required in our typical single-family residential districts. The roof, I already kind of touched on that, but a roof would be require review. Again, it has to, we look at if it's in character or consistent with the area or the neighborhood. Review would be required in both the downtown design district and the single-family design district. As far as typical single-family zoning district, it would just be part of the normal building permit process. If you wanted to replace your roof anywhere in the city, you're still going to have to get a roof permit and have that reviewed and approved to get your building permit. Setbacks is something that's specifically mentioned in the single-family district section of the design standards. We really don't address them specifically in the downtown design district standards. A lot of that area is commercial zone, in which we don't have. Typically, we don't have setbacks in commercial zoning. As far as the single-family district, it mentions that it needs to be consistent. The front yard setback needs to be consistent with the prevailing setback that's on that particular block, and that's something that we apply to all single-family zoning districts. And the example I gave was normally in your higher density type single-family zoning districts, there is a 15-foot front yard setback required. And the intent of that, and the purpose for that, is to have, have the line of sight to be compatible for traffic reasons and also for aesthetic reasons. But also, that same type of consistency would be required in a single-family district or any new construction or add-on or something like that. So this needs to be consistent with the prevailing setback on the block. As far as driveways, we really don't address that, in single-family properties in the downtown design district. However, in the single-family design district, again, it needs to be consistent with those in the neighborhood to again, protect that character. In the typical single-family zoning standards citywide, we really don't have any driveway requirements other than a driveway is required for 2 off-street parking spaces, and it needs to be of a permanent material. As far as off-street parking itself, we do address off-street parking in the downtown design district by saying that the parking lots and those types of facilities need to be landscaped. In the single-family district, in the single-family design district, we talk about that the off-street parking would be limited to what is needed for the driveway and access to the garage. Citywide, we just require 2 off-street parking spaces, which would be the minimum. We have the maximum. So, for instance, if you wanted to replace your front yard with a paved parking area in the single-family design district area, that would be something that would be subject to review and probably would be recommended to not be allowed because of the front yard is an important part of that neighborhood. But in other single-family zoning districts, we have no requirement that if you wanted to pave your front yard, you could pave your front yard. Height is the last one, and as far as the downtown design districts, there's unlimited height. Again, a lot of that is dictated by your underlying zoning, and that being a lot of that being industrial, commercial, and those types of zoning districts that are there is no height requirement, it's unlimited. In the single-family design district, there is a 2-story maximum stated in the urban design district standards, again, to maintain that character. As common with the single-family zoning districts throughout the city, there are 2-story maximum height standards that would apply. So I know that's a lot of information, and I wanted to try to somehow give you some kind of an idea of how the 2 design districts compare as they apply to single-family residential development, and then also compare those with what would be required citywide within the city.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
any questions?
I don't think so. That was a good job. Thank you so much, Mr. Shaw. And we've had one other issue, and if Mr. Norris would address this, take about 2 minutes to address the issue of Agenda 21. That has been brought up a few times, and so I'd like to address that from a legal standpoint.
Thank you, Mayor. In 1991, a United Nations agency did conduct a land use study, a conference out at the annual report, and the title of it is called Agenda 21. I would dare say before the summer, probably no one sitting up here ever heard of Agenda 21. I have done more research on it. It tells you the UN isn't very good at advertising and promoting what they adopt. But it is a land use study. They did, in that study, say that some of their ideas would not be popular, and they would use euphemisms. They would give a peculiar meaning to some phrases that we're all familiar with, such as comprehensive planning or sustainable growth. That does not mean that anyone in the city of Amarillo who uses the term comprehensive planning is using it in the way that this peculiar UN agency has said they're going to use that term. Each one of us as office holders have taken an oath to uphold the laws and constitutions of this nation and this state, and that does not mean the charter. And just because someone twists a common term does not mean that we are necessarily using that term the same way. So, Agenda 21, those authors did co-opt a couple of phrases that we do here occasionally. But again,
terms of being used in the city of Amarillo.
One other thing, I dare say that this will be the last hearing that we have. Remember, it's again on single-family residential homes, and that we're going to be speaking on tonight. It's so important that as a city we move forward with this downtown revitalization. And I would love for all of us to take whatever decision, move forward in a positive momentum, and keep this downtown revitalization going. It's so important to our city. So with that, we have folks here on both sides that can speak for and against. Commissioner Sims has a list of folks that could not be here that are speaking for the to keep it in place. Is that right, Commissioner Sims? Okay, would you like to read those into the record?
These people could not be here tonight, and they live within the district, in the residential area of downtown urban design standards, and they've asked that their names and the correspondence be included as part of the record, as will y'all's comments. So I'm going to read the names, not everyone. So Mike Huffaker, Donna Peck and her husband Maxwell Peck, Charles Sanchez, Kevin Nelson, Jeffrey Donnie, Cullen Lutz, Brad Wilkie, Troy Foose, Todd Haley, Brittany Taylor, Lou Ann Garrett, David Horsley, Terry Clark, and Julia Wambo.
Thank you so much. With that, we would like to go ahead and get started, and we don't do positive or negative side. We just whoever would like to come to the microphone. Be aware of the time, the little machine over there is 3 minutes. Give us your name and address for the record, and we're here to listen. Here comes the one in the back. Here, Tony, right here. Yes, sir. Hi. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is David Horsley. I live at 1710 South Harrison. And for purposes of convenience, we'll call that the red zone, because that's the area that you're considering excising. I'm not going to use my full 3 minutes, but I have a question. I've got letters from some of my neighbors who could not be here tonight. And would each of them get 3 minutes for me to read their letters, is my question.
We have a copy of the letters here, so
Okay,
that won't.
so that won't
Their
be
names are part
necessary.
of the record.
Okay,
And of course,
it's part of the record already.
Yes, sir.
Great. I simply want to say I've lived in my house on Harrison for 21 years almost. I feel like I'm qualified to speak as a resident and also as a lover of that part of Amarillo. We chose that part of Amarillo for a reason, because we like the old.
John Sawyers. I live at P.O. Box 7154 off 51st Street. First off, let me say Merry Christmas to everybody from all the people that live in this area. My problem with this is one thing. Why did a residential area get added to downtown revitalization? And I just don't understand that.
We make it after all, so my name was on the list. My name is Kevin Nelson. I live at 2120 South Harrison. And I just want to say thanks. I consider it a blessing to live in a place where our comments are invited, and we have a city commission who listens and seeks our input. So thank you all very much for this opportunity. I'm speaking in favor of the standards. I'm not saying that I think they're perfect, but the two main things that I want to say, rather than to debate the standards themselves, because I think tree-lined streets and things such as that are just so important. And this downtown revitalization is critical. I agree. I think the downtown is truly like the heart of our city, and vitality comes from our heart and it's spread throughout the city, and it's good for our entire city to have a vibrant downtown. But the main point that I want to make about the standards at this juncture are that you guys have done, a lot of people have put quite a bit of input into this. You've considered it on a lot of different fronts. And I just want to point out that, there's a process. First of all, there's a specific process. If you have a situation where you cannot or feel it's not appropriate in your situation to have the standards applied, you can seek a variance. And although we haven't had anyone seek a variance yet, I would anticipate that those would be sought often, just like zoning variances. And so if there's a specific concern and you feel like you need an opportunity to opt out or to be allowed out, and that's in place. And the other thing I want to say is that there's also a process you guys have put in place for changing the standards, and that is through the Urban Design Review Board, just like the variances. And so, if there are concerns, certainly it could be taken up. You've done a good job of putting in place specific opportunities for people to opt out. You've put in place a system if the standards are not what they ought to be. There's a system for changing those on a case-by-case basis or on a macro even type basis. So I just applaud your efforts in that. I would love to have the opportunity for the city to have the opportunity to give these standards a chance to see that they would do in fact, accomplish what we've hoped that they would accomplish. And I think that the residential component is a part of the overall plan. It's very important. So, thanks.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Mayor, my name is Lloyd Ross. I live in 1604 South Harrison. And I want to say a few things to the people that are attending this meeting, because I've had, minds are already made up, and I feel like we're in a Titanic. We can't put the engines in reverse, we're still going to hit that iceberg. Instead of put more work in go starboard side, miss the iceberg. I want to say a few things here. For the Amarillo, we're the Amarillo citizens for the property rights, and we need your help. And if you do not live in the Oliver, Eccles, and surrounding areas, you as an Amarillo citizens are important to help us prevent what is going on in the downtown area and how it will affect your wants and further rights of property owners. Not many people have come forth, but a lot of them complain to us that they do not like what's going on. Week after week, our members have stood up to have our voices heard, but now we need more of you to speak out. What's going on downtown? What about all the property rights of the owners? Many people, what is going on? I missed my place here. Week after week, our members have stood by and our voices will be heard. We seek transparency. Most of us have not been paying attention to what's going on until it hit our neighborhoods and our own backyards. We are not totally against what's going on growth and redevelopment of downtown. We are against pulling the residents into the plans and against the mandates and ordinance on the homeowners that we raise our property taxes, we'll raise our motel taxes, drainage fees, and to help finance the ballpark, park, and other costly ideas that will change the face of Amarillo downtown area. We would rather that investors finance their dreams instead of the Amarillo taxpayers. We feel that when they are spending our money, that they let the citizens of Amarillo be heard by allowing us to vote on how they want to spend our hard-earned cash. Remember, right now it may be your neighborhood, but next it could be yours. You might want to ask, why are they in such a hurry to shove this down our throats? It's kind of like that health care bill that was passed. How are they planning to pay for the proposed aquatic center, the mega theater, the convention hotel, the 6-story parking garage, relocation of the downtown library, and maybe even a new civic center? How many historical buildings and homes will disappear? Why did we need to spend $4 million to redo Rogers Golf Course? They voted for certificates of obligation that will need to be paid in 20 years. The commissioners have voted for $2.6 million for landscaping, pretty lights, and sidewalks for 6th Street and Polk. They also voted for $746,000 for landscaping. I'll reserve my time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your comments. It's fast, isn't it?
I'm Amy Taylor-Resvine. I live at 721 Short Street. And I think that a lot of things have happened since the beginning of the summer. And, I think that something that we're seeing here is a reflection of that. Mr. Norris, you say that the terminology is not intentional. We see it, though. We see it with our own eyes. We see things like a comprehensive plan. We see different ways that the city of Amarillo is, whether or not you're associated with the greater evil or not, just associated with the local evil. It's control. We are seeing that you've disregarded our property rights. We are seeing possible gentrification. We're seeing where poor families, the ones that go to your restaurant, will soon be, their income, their taxes will go up on their homes, and they will not be able to afford living in them any longer. We are looking, I think about this summer, and we've seen such terms as tiers, the strategic action plan, comprehensive plan. A couple of weeks ago, we were, instead of looking at how much it would cost to place our porch, how much it would cost to file an injunction against the city for putting bonds that are going to tax our children. Instead of working in ministry, I spend my time getting petitions. I want you to know that no matter how many people talk today, this isn't going away. And people in Amarillo still value property rights. And if this continues to go forward, I'm telling you, that we have a petition against the sign ordinance, a petition against the urban design standards, which are also a violation of our property rights, and we have a petition to replace all of you guys and to fill your places with people who live in our neighborhoods, so they won't vote to kick themselves out of neighborhoods and raise their taxes so high that they can't live there anymore. And so I want you to know that after this one, that after these 3 petitions, the next one that's going through is to completely defund tiers. And when we're done with that, the next petition that is going through is going to be one that says that every bond election, or every bond that you pass, will go to the public. It's not going to be a handful of you guys burdening my children in the future with taxes and with bills. So no matter how this turns out today, a few things aren't going to change. We aren't going to stop working. We aren't going to stop working. But I would like to say, on a lighter note, we do pray for you at the beginning of every one of our meetings. We're going to work hard, and we will pray for you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kathy Altman, and I live at 2105 South Lipscomb, and I'm representing Amarillo Citizens for Property Rights. And I think we would certainly agree with Mr. Wynn that we feel like this is being forced down people's throats without enough of our say-so. A member of our group wrote this letter, and our group approved it, and I would like to read to you, called Upside Down Priorities. As we attempt to remove the fallen tree limbs caused by the recent rain and the snowstorm, it's very easy to forget the other problems occurring during the storm. Street flooding, numerous underpasses were impassable, causing a real cluster drill for police and emergency workers. We're lucky no major crimes were occurring, as our officers were either stranded by rising water or using patrol cars to stop motorists from evading barricades to drive into flooded underpasses. These are situations that usually occur with every moderate to heavy rainfall. Can we afford to have engineers and planners spend their time designing bicycle paths and ignore what appears to be a more serious and ongoing problem? During the rain, our Civic Center was leaking through the roof and flooding from the sewers to the extent it became necessary to shut down the rodeo early. This is not a new or recent condition. It has occurred for years. How many other city facilities experience flooding? Our city fathers and mothers can propose and approve a $2 million bond and $700,000 of county spending of taxpayer-funded money to plant trees and place lamps and brick sidewalks on Polk Street and around the courthouse, with the impression being left that there is more spending yet to come. Our city leaders are quick to get money for posies on Polk Street and yet ignore serious needs for our city. but then I forget all they have to do is raise taxes and do another bond. Why is the street landscape spending not presented to the voters to see if the citizens really want to spend their money in such a way? Let the people who own the downtown properties pay for their own decorations to enhance their property if they really want those decorations. Is an injunction the only way to slow this outrageous spending and try to get these serious decisions to a vote by the people who are obligated to pay for this recklessness? If the voters and the taxpayers are in favor of spending their money on unnecessary decorations rather than address some of the real problems needing our tax money, then we will not like it, but will concede to the will of the voters. And he says, I just do not want to concede to a few special interest groups spending our tax revenues in such a way. Am I the only one who sees a problem with the priorities? And speaking for myself, looking on these standards, and I see that things such as trees and the pedestrian lights, so on, are being required in these same single-family district we're talking about, and yet not in the city as a whole. That just seems like you're taking away the property rights of this group of people living in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aug.
Hello. My name is R.L. Williams. This will be the third time that I've been here to speak in opposition to this proposition. You passed it several weeks back. I would point out, Mayor, that you started making your conciliatory remarks to those of us who did oppose it before you even took a vote as to whether it passed or not, which tells me that it was a done deal when you let the pre-commission meet. I don't like it because you're dictating to the property owners how to spend their money. From the very start, Kelly has said many times that this really doesn't matter, that you're grandfathered in. If it doesn't matter, why do we have to pass it? It does matter because there are triggers that will cause these expenses to have to be suffered by the property owners. That light fixture that you've mandated is $4,200. It costs probably another $1,000 to put it in, and they have to be, according to this, every 50 foot. I thought every 75 foot, which would be 4 on a city street. That's $20,000 worth of light fixtures. And when you get through, you're going to hook it up to your electricity instead of the city electricity like the street lights already are. You're just taking away a little bit. You haven't lowered any taxes. You've posted through the commercial portion of this deal. It's totally too big, and it's totally not necessary. You're trying to make a warehouse district, a downtown Fort Worth or an Oklahoma City, and we're not that. We don't have the kind of people coming to downtown Amarillo those cities do. There's not any cruise ships that dock out there that unload thousands and thousands of people who are going to mill around downtown. It's 270 square blocks or more, and there's no way anybody can walk the length and breadth of that property in 2 days, let alone on a stroll of an evening. You're just spending money left and right. The only way you're getting anybody to install those fixtures that you're ordering is to give them the money to do it with. And I don't like you spending my money for that. I don't like the AEDC money being spent for it, or the TERS money, or any other money. I don't want federal money being spent on it, because federal money, the only difference between it and what you take in is the time we pay the taxes. We pay the city of Amarillo in December or January, and that money that's at the airport that's been spent was paid to us April 15th. I'm adamantly opposed to it. You need to revisit the whole thing. You're jamming it down our throats. Thank you.
My name is Kate Brown. I own a house at 1310 South Jefferson and a duplex around the corner at 810 Southwest 14. I live in one of those properties. I encourage the Commission to keep the urban design standards in place. In the long term, it will improve the value of my property as well as other properties in the downtown area. I believe in my heart that it will protect me and my property for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Commissioners, I'm Bonnie Rodriguez. I own property at 1607 South Harrison, also 1609 South Harrison, in the red zone, if you will, as Mr. Horsley described it. So I guess I have 2 dogs in this fight. How's that? I bought that property about 11 years ago when it was about to be condemned by the city, and remodeled it, maintained the architectural integrity of the house because it was important to me as an individual in the remodeling process, but also because the neighborhood I felt required it is the Clemens-Echo Historical District, and I really feel like maintaining the character of the homes in that area is vital to maintaining the value of those properties. Now, it's my understanding that only new construction is going to be affected by these requirements. Am I correct? Thank you. I wanted to clarify that. And so there isn't going to be any extra expenses to the present property owners, correct? Okay, thank you. I wanted to clarify that also. I'm grateful we're going to have 6 more police officers. I think that that's required in a city of the size of Amarillo. It's growing very quickly. I have a lot of guests that come and stay with me from all over the world. My property is a bed and breakfast, and I represent Amarillo. I'm the face of Amarillo to a lot of people when they come here. And a lot of my guests want to walk the downtown area. And they do. They walk down there for dinner. They're in several of the restaurants. You know, they've been in their car all day, or they've traveled here and they want to see what Amarillo looks like. And the best way to see that is to walk the streets. So they walk downtown for dinner. They walk back. I welcome the fact that there will be more street lights. I think it will help to make the value of the property safer and increase the value of the property rather. I'm for this proposition. I think it will grow Amarillo in the direction that a city of this size needs to grow into, maintaining the integrity of the downtown area and keeping the character of the homes within the style that they're in. I've done some really unusual things with my property, and I realize that it's it's a personal touch on my property, but I've also maintained architectural integrity. My home is a historic home. The plans are filed down at the museum, and therefore I think that that historic value will be enhanced by this downtown urban design district. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Good to see you. Thank you. Yes, sir. No.
My name is Frank Carmelo. I live at 1714 South Van Buren, and I support the residential design standards. I recently moved from a neighborhood it's pretty run down. And since I was little, I've walked the neighborhood in this area that I live in. I've always wanted to live there, and we were able to finance a home there. And I appreciate you guys looking at what making it part of the decisions that we make. You guys do a good job, and much nice support.
Thank you, Mr. Carmelo. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My name is Darrell Roberts. I have property at 1617 South Harrison, and I had just one observation I'd like to make. I have been to other cities, other states and I don't know what your program is for downtown, but I have been to ball games where people rent their front lawns for cars to park, and I think that would be detrimental to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Hi, Mayor, Commissioners, thank you very much. First, let me say I appreciate the opportunity to be here again. I spoke to you when you were doing the reading of the ordinance, and I spoke in favor of it then, and I am still in favor of it.
You can give us your name.
Yes, Michelle Fortunato, 1710 South Harrison.
Thank you.
We live in the residential area that would be covered by the standards. And I think a lot of us are like-minded in that we love the neighborhood, we want to protect the neighborhood. I think Where we differ is what we think is the right way to protect the neighborhood. And we see the standards as being amenable to what we want to do in the neighborhood. It will preserve the historic character of our neighborhood, the uniqueness which we all love about our neighborhood. And without the standards, I think there's a real possibility that some of these unique characteristics could just erode away. And I think we're seeing that in the neighborhood to some extent. And we really appreciate the city commission, the city staff, and all the volunteers who work to put these standards in place. I would have to agree with what Kevin said. There is a process where if we feel like it's not working, we can take another look at it. But I think it would be premature to pull the plug on it now when so many people have done so much work and we don't even know how these standards are going to affect people and whether there is going to be an adverse effect. We're kind of reacting to some feedback that may or may not be real. And so I'd like us to, take some deep breaths and let the process work. Let the city work on the certificates of appropriateness. The steps, the process is not onerous. There's one additional step that goes through Kelly Shaw's office, and there's a board that can review it if there are problems. So I think it's a good thing for the city. It's a good thing for our neighborhood. And I think we're getting pulled into a lot of issues that don't have anything to do with single-family residents right now that we're hearing about today. I think we should stay focused on single-family residences, the design standards, what's that going to do. So I appreciate your time and setting aside time for all of us to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Chief Executive South Bend here. And David and I, or Kelly and I talked at one time, and he kind of put me at ease as far as, single family dwellings and what, if I put in the fence and all that kind of stuff. But, there's our neighborhoods, it's kind of mixed up. We're not all fast brothers but hearts. And, some people can't pay their gas bill, So they're worried about this part of town having to force to spend a lot of money. And so I agree with the third speaker that maybe 15th Street over, 15th Street South should be not part of downtown development. And the speaker that was on 22nd Street or whatever, he's not in the block, so to me it doesn't have a dog in the fight, But whatever. But anyway, I appreciate what you're trying to do. It's just that it's a mixed neighborhood, and some people, are really worried about being able to afford their, keep their house, and so I think the guy has a good suggestion.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
I'm Carol Smith. I live at 1616 South Pope. Some 4 years ago, my husband and I were looking for a place to live, and we decided on the downtown area because of the revitalization that's taking place and the things that are being done. And one of my neighbors mentioned that just take the residential area out. But I, for one, would not like to see that happen. For instance, we have a vacant lot across from where we are, and I would hate to see something that was not appropriate go in there and would devalue my property. And so for that, I hope that you will stay with the design standards there too. Thank you.
Thank you. It was, I'm sorry, how are you?
It's me. And my name is Jenny Connis. I live at 712 West 17th, and I've lived there for 41 years. I love my house. I love the neighborhood. I moved here from New York, and New York at that time had a lot of going downhill type of properties all over town, but they began to gentrify the city. And now, if you go to New York, you'll find tree-lined streets, and you'll find wonderful places for people to live, and you don't have to be so afraid of just the slumminess of an area. I do not want to live in a slum area which I sort of do. But I love where I live. I've lived there for 41 years. I appreciate all the work that y'all have done, and I would like to see it go forward. A town is not going to be a vital town unless it has new things coming in and taking care of the old things. And I love all the trees, and I want everything to be better than it is right now. And I think y'all are going in the right direction. And thank you for all your work.
Thank you, Jenny. Yes.
Golden. I actually live 2106 South Hughes Street. Owner, operator, partner with Kimberly on the Ground Cafe, the coffee shop in Chase. I also represent her residence at 1603 South Madison, so I assume they give me the authority to come up here and impress myself in front of this wonderful crowd with all the passion involved here. Guys, I'd like to thank all of you and ladies, Mayor. This is wonderful. When I was looking for a new residence, I looked hard and heavy in the red zone. I think somewhat pointed, and it's got huge potential. And Madison, as far as people not being able to eat at your restaurant because of taxes are going up because those property values are going to go up. People are seeing it, people are buying them, and people are picking them up. Property taxes, not always a bad thing. We need more police officers to catch the rat that's running around and destroying our buildings downtown now. I mean, driving over here, it's just disgusting, some of the stuff. The graffiti's not art that I'm seeing. And I'd love to see the guy get caught, you know. So the property taxes are a good thing. You guys put yourselves up here with these big paychecks for doing this job. I know to be kind of harassed, so I admire you for stepping up here and doing this. But this is a good thing. Thank you, and I think I represent Kimberly. She agrees with that. We do. We're excited about we taking risks downtown. We need this, and we need these properties put back together and be proud of brick streets.
So you're in favor, is it right, Diane?
Say
you're in favor of keeping it in place?
I am definitely in favor of keeping it in place.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Becky Zent. I live at 1802 South Tyler Street in the red zone. I bought that property intentionally because I realized that there was in the make a downtown revitalization plan. I work in downtown Amarillo. I live in downtown Amarillo, so I intentionally desire for improvements to be made in our city, and I applaud all the efforts of everyone involved to bring forward a downtown revitalization plan. All of us who are reasonable understand that urban blight has taken over many, many cities because of lack of planning, as we are discussing here tonight. But we have heard a lot of voice of dissent, but I want to add my voice to very loudly to tell you that I appreciate all that is being done. I applaud the downtown revitalization plan. I believe it will go forward and bring progress to our city. I think without it, progress may not come to our city. I think the early day planners, the movers and shakers of our city, sat in meetings such as this to bring about the very neighborhood that I live in. The very brick streets that I drive on, the trees that I watch every day, the houses that give me pleasure as I drive to and from my work, as well as some of the old buildings in town. So I just want to add my voice to many others in the city that may have not spoken as loudly as the dissension, to let you know that there are many citizens who live in the areas discussed that are very happy with the plans that are being made. I'm happy to hear that the new construction will be under strict rules, because I do not want a HUD housing apartment built on my block should my property become vacant. I live in a residential as well as a retail block, and I'm happy to know that in that particular area that we will not have to see urban blight take place.
Thank you, Ms. Zant. Thank you so much.
Hi, good evening. Troy Foose, 1613 South Harrison, and I just came to speak in support of the standards. The only thing I'll say briefly is that To me, actually, the standards are a good thing personally, because I think it's difficult to invest in uncertainty and having a personal home in this area, in this district. You know, knowing that it's going to go what I consider the correct direction, which is up, that my investment is protected, that's very important to me. I mean, and I see that as the city's job is well suited in this arena to help me protect my investment and my hard-earned money. So anyway, that's all I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
I live at 1607 South Taylor, and I agree with what you're doing. And I think what people don't realize is that almost all the newer areas of town have standards. And this area of town, several others, have just been overlooked for years, and people did what they wanted. And anybody that's been to Detroit, I don't want to pick on Detroit, but anybody that's been to Detroit and seen the neighborhoods there, same thing can happen here. And it is there. And I can't afford my taxes to go up. I work for a living, but I can't afford to lose my own house either. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Skidmore.
Howard Smith, I live at 1616 Oak Street. My wife and I purchased that property about 4.5 years ago. We invested a lot of money into fixing it up. We needed a lot of work. We enjoy living there. As you can see from the sign, I'm in favor of keeping the urban design standards. I want to, that concludes my part. I want to speak for someone that could not attend but wanted to attend, and that's Evelyn Rivers. Many of you know Evelyn Rivers. She has about 3 projects she's spent her life doing, and that's what she's doing tonight. She's working with over 200 volunteers, which is ready for underprivileged children. She also gives coats away, almost 4,000 this year. The third thing that people don't know a lot about is she has what's called Evelyn Sunshine Cottage. And I've got a letter that she couldn't be here because she's working on her project. Otherwise, she'd be here. But dear Mayor and City Commissioners, we provide housing for low-income women with children who are interested in getting a college education. We own properties at 1614 Madison, 1616 Madison, and 712 Short Street. Right now we have 9 women, 27 children living in the units. When we obtained each of these properties, we fixed them up to a really high standard. It's my belief that the urban design standards will protect the neighborhood and ensure that any changes to the neighborhood are done in a positive way. Therefore, I request that you keep the urban design standards in place. So, I've got a letter from each of you.
My name is Eddie Wynn. I live at 4413 Kingston. So as the other man said, I don't have a dog in the sun. I'm president of Texas Tire and Tube, which is just across the street from this zone we're talking about. On that property. On some other property in Amarillo. I've been very blessed. You've allowed me to pay the full rate of taxes on every piece of property I own.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and so when these things happen, they do affect the rest of us. And one lady said she didn't want one of these homes where lower income people lived in her neighborhood, so you put it in mine. Some of the people don't want this done, but when it comes right down to it, one thing that appears is that I would say that Amarillo is governing like Washington, but this government has been in force so much longer than the current administration, so maybe we're leading them. But this has been a takeover and shoved us down their throat for a period of time. We've done it on other things. We've done it on the sign deal. With the permits, we've done all that, and the permits and receiving the permit is a joke. And we just completed the sign today, but I wasn't even down there, so it wasn't my personality to defend them. But it took us 4 weeks to get a permit after all the paperwork was done, after the sign was bought, after it was paid for. And so all these promises of this being easy to arrange and easy to handle if you want to do something, that's a crock. And I feel that this is gonna come next time it'll be my area, next time it's in my home, next time it's in some of these other people. And I just think it's time for the government to look at what they're spending in the city of Amarillo, to look at what they're spending. You have no assurance where you're going. We've been watching for the last several months. You have no idea where we're going because the world don't know. So I don't know, I'm not predicting enough. All I'm saying is we're spending money like Washington. We're printing because we're issuing these bonds. We have no assurance where our sales tax is going. We have no assurance of anything. But if you look at the constitutional rights of owning property, I don't believe these owners of this property I don't believe they have a reason to accept your program. I think you really should consider it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wynn.
My name is Isabel Camarilla, and my family and my husband, my 3 children are here tonight in support of the residential design. And to us, my husband and I and our children, it's just so important. We work so hard to beautify our home. It is a registered historical home, and we just love it. You know, and to be able to revitalize downtown and not have the homes in the area not kept up. That kind of worries me because, you know, when you go somewhere to a big town and you see the homes that are so beautiful, I mean, it keeps up everything, the downtown to the residential homes and the surrounding, you know, and I'm just here in support of it because we love our neighborhood, and I would love to see it kept up as well downtown.
Thank you, Ms. Camarello.
Thank you.
Appreciate your input. No.
Hi, my name is Chan Davidson. I live at 2607 Hayden Street. I guess I have several dogs in the fight. I don't live in the red zone, but I'm the guy that drives through the red zone probably 2 or 3 nights a week with a cup of coffee. I've always appreciated that area. Love the homes. Been very excited to see the progress that I've seen there. I do own some property in downtown Amarillo, and a rental apartment. Our business is located there, and we have some rental property down on Polk Street. For those that suggest that this is moving too quickly, you know, I take exception to that because we restored the Marathon building, which is in the 700 block of Polk, back in 1996. And at that point, we went to the city when the downtown area was boarded up. Essentially, at that point, the few banks were still down there, some attorneys' offices were still down there, but it was pretty desolate at that point. We bought a boarded up building, went in, the ceiling was caving in, and we invested a lot of our personal funds. I'm just one of the owners. And we developed that property, and it's still there today with tenants. We went to the city at that point and said, well, what's the plan? You know, what we want to put trees. We need some guidance from the city. There was nothing. There was nothing there. They had no plan. There wasn't a whole lot of offer they could advise us with. We went out and got professional help with architects and builders and the like, and just said, you know, what are people doing in other cities? And that's what we would do. So we planted trees. We've gone ahead and done a lot of the things that you were proposing in these centers. We're excited. I mean, we're saying finally, we're seeing the momentum. We kind of bet our money early on that downtown Amarillo would revitalize, and that it would, you know, the central business district would be vital, would have restaurants, would have, you know, be a destination for people. We love to get out and walk the streets, but in this current condition, you go for blocks with still boarded up buildings, no landscaping, and so we're thrilled. I can't thank each of you enough that I know this has been a seemingly difficult process, but there's a lot of support, and I thank each and every one of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Alan Flango, 2601 North Brown. Overreach tends to bring overreaction. I do hope these areas get to be gentrified, and there are things the city can do in terms of limiting the increase in valuation so that people who own homes of a modest type are not driven up or driven out by high taxes. But I do agree with the people who think that the residential areas should not be included. I'm going to make a suggestion. You have on the map here an area designated CB in zoning. I suggest that the city confine the urban design standards to the downtown area, and this that you have designated covers the traditional downtown. That was between 3rd Street and 11th Street, and between Buchanan and Jackson. Now, it's conceivable to me that one would stretch that a bit and say from Johnson Street to Jackson Street, and perhaps from the middle of the block between 2nd and 3rd over to 12th Avenue. I would not include anything that was to the east of Johnson Street. You have an almost exact outline of what I think the city should use for its downtown urban design boundary, and you have it here on the map. Now, I won't go into all the issues of whether or not the residential areas should be included. I don't think they should, but there is not sufficient time to discuss it. I just suggest that if you confine downtown urban design to about 1/4 of a square mile or 3/8 of a square mile, you won't have any problem with it. You'll have all the cooperation you need. Thank you.
My name is Charlie Sanchez. They read my name that I wouldn't be here, but I'm here, so maybe that's twice that I get counted. I want to just say a few words about this urban design standards that's being proposed, and it has been proposed, and it is approved. I think it is vital for the residents in this area to support it. I think it is vital for the revitalization of downtown that is being proposed, and nothing but good can come from support of this urban design standards. I made the decision when I bought my home 30 years ago, and I think I might have been ahead of the curve because I realized the historical value of my home. And I made it upon myself that anything that I would do, I did it voluntarily to keep my home as a builder and the architect intended it to. So I have renovated my home in and out, and the exterior of my home is basically the same as when I bought it. And I just want to come up here and voice my support for this urban design standards, and hope that the city and the commissioners and you, Mayor, take all this input and weigh it and give us some good information. Thank you.
Sir, if you don't mind, we'll let the lady in the front.
I'm Sean Kelly. I live at 1620 South Polk, and I'm in favor of the urban design district. For me, the design standards are similar to deed restrictions, which offer some protection for the people in my neighborhood, protect my property values, and our very strong commitment in our investments in our homes. So for that reason, I'm in favor of the design district. Thank you for including us. Thank you for including us in the plan.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Kelly.
Irma, before my time starts, may I say something about the letters that are being turned in?
I think they'll be part of your time, Irma. We haven't let
I feel
anyone
that
else.
it's not fair because we weren't allowed we weren't told that we could bring letters from people that could not attend. We took the time. We have come throughout all these weeks and months, and we have attended.
Okay.
And now you're going to take people that couldn't be here, you're going to put their name on the record. Well, I think all the names that we have in our petitions should be on the record as being opposed to what is being done.
All right. Thank you. You're duly noted. And
And I'm not wearing the green. And Commissioner Sims, I didn't come to Amarillo because of the golf courses.
You'll give us your name and address, please.
Ida Benitez, 1604 South Harrison. A quote from President Ronald Reagan. private property rights are so diluted that public interest is almost anything a few government planners decide it should be. I think it holds for what's going on here. I believe Mr. Shaw and Mrs. Daly have more power over us than our elected officials, and we didn't elect them. We didn't elect them to come and tell us how we could have our properties. I have a historical home. I bought it because I love historical homes, and we want to keep it that way. But I also think it's unfair that my taxes and the rest of the residents that are in our group, because we're opposed to it, are going to be paying for what is going to be downtown. We are totally for revitalization. We want our streets safe. I applaud that we have more police officers. That's great. But also, there are people on the boards, there are people on the commission that are going to profit from our taxes. I know you get mad at me, but it is a conflict of interest. Commissioner Boyd, you have your business downtown, and we'll also profit from this. I don't know how the rest of us, you will profit, and I'm sure that there's a good way of doing it. What Mr. Horsley didn't mention also is that he is on the review board, and he got a $5,000 grant for an apartment house he has at 17 Van Buren, and I believe he owns some other properties on there also. The rest of us don't get that. Oh, but they say that he got his grant before he went onto the review board. I asked for a grant several years ago, and I was told, oh, that's not the downtown area. But now he's in the downtown area because he's on the review board, and it goes all the way to his property. How convenient. We have come here for several months. We have tried to be polite. We were treated with arrogance. We have been put in little boxes. I think you owe Miss Commissioner Perez an apology, because when he said my people, you assumed he was talking about the Hispanic community. When a black lady came, you assumed she was from the north, and I'm from the north side of town. I don't know where you see me, in which box you see me, but I'm an Amarillo citizen. I have the right to protest what is going on. I am a homeowner. Our house was not a house. It was a home. You see my house as money to pay for what you want to build downtown.
Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate your comments.
1 minute. Irma, do you want her?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Charlene Taylor, 906 South Crockett, and I will give her my time that I was going to speak.
Oh, well, we can't do that. I'm sorry. No, ma'am.
You let those people bring their letters, and they weren't here. How many times have we left our jobs to come here and speak, and they never showed up? We were here in person, and they sent letters. We have members here that were not able to attend. Had we known that you could bring letters, we would have brought them.
Excuse me, and I'll tell you what we'll do. We announced this meeting last, what was it, Tuesday? I guess it was. You have till next Tuesday to get those letters into us. How about that? The letters that, and it's not the one.
You know, we're not lawyers or professionals. We're not organized with little green signs on us.
Okay,
we come to you as
thank you. This is not.
We come to you as Amarillo citizens, and we deserve to be heard.
Thank you. You have a week to get your letters into us, and we will put those on the record as well. So if you'll get those to us by Tuesday before our commission meeting, we will certainly put those into the record. Okay. Yes, Ben.
I'm Beth Duke. I live at 3141 West 28th. I'm Executive Director of Center City of Amarillo, and that is why I'm coming to you again to speak tonight. I have attended, I believe, Kelly can check my time card, but I think I've been at almost every meeting we've had and really heard a lot of the debate, the compromise, and getting to the point where we are now. I want to say, as I've told you before, that Center City was working on design standards long before I came to Center City, and they were voluntary standards, and they didn't work. They didn't make a significant change. Looking backwards, you can't see that they had any clout, that they had any effect on how we look today. We believe strongly that we need this kind of standard for our downtown to move forward. And Center City, our board of directors, did approve their support of these standards and passed it on to you as the commission before you took action. I would just like to say I'd like to see these standards given a chance to work. Sometimes in downtown redevelopment and historic preservation, you can't always see looking ahead. You have to look back and see how they worked. And I think we need to give these a chance. That's what I would like to do. See if the process works, see if we need to change it or adapt it. I think it would make it very strong. I also have heard a lot of talk about boundaries, and as the city has changed, the boundaries on some of these have changed. But I would like to say that some of my favorite historic homes are south of 15th. I'm fortunate I get to work in the Chamber of Commerce building there at 10th and Polk. It's a beautiful mansion that has been saved. But if we cut this off at 12th or even 15th, think of some of the beautiful historic homes that would not be given this kind of protection. So I'd like to see you give them a chance to work. We've worked with this a long time. We believe they'll work if they have the force of law and not voluntary standards. And we appreciate so much your time because we know this is a very difficult decision that affects the future of our city and the next generations.
Thank you.
Thank you again for making time for us. I'm Wes Bridges. I live at 2117 Harrison, block and a half south of the red zone. So I will say that I felt for years that when somebody mentioned Detroit, and I don't want to get into this, but the city's rot from the core. And what we've attempted to do through the years is reestablish the core as the heart of the city. And I've been dismayed at some of the inappropriate buildings that have been placed in our residential areas between downtown and I-40. Steel buildings that really degrade the property values around there. So my main concern is property values. I'm not a wealthy person. I have most of my personal wealth tied up into my house, and I think a lot of people here are like that. We don't want to see taxes skyrocket, definitely, but we also, when we get old, we want to have something of value to pass along to our kids. And I think that our property values have been somewhat depressed even south of I-40 because of a lot of incursions. Even bringing I-40 in, which we couldn't live without I-40, but it really destroyed part of the fabric of our neighborhood, and we can't go back and cry over that now. But we have to be very careful in the future, and I think these standards are one way to do that. They're not onerous standards. If you go to any city in the country that's redeveloped and doing great, they have these types of standards, not only in the downtown area, but also the outlying residential areas. And one of our advantages here is we have a very strong neighborhood on our south flank. Some downtowns are surrounded by really depressed areas, and it's really difficult for them to reestablish those central cores. We have a great opportunity. That's why I'm in favor of leaving the standards in place to see if they will work and see if they will be of value to us. And I think it's they've been in place since August. Let's give them some time. They're tweakable, they're revisable. We can fix them if we don't like them. But just throwing them out, I think at this point would be a mistake until we give them a chance to work. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate all the efforts on both sides. I think everyone loves the neighborhood, and it's great to see because I think we sort of got ignored, and we sort of ignored ourselves in a lot of ways. And we looked to be neighbors and to enjoy the friendship that we've had. I've made friends with some folks. John over here and some other folks. It's been great to meet people. This is a great forum, and we appreciate you providing it for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Yeah, right here in the second row. Yes, sir, on the end.
Me?
Yes, sir.
I can't talk.
Hello.
Hello, I'm Gary Landman. I live at 4802 Carroll Lane, and thank you for letting me be here. I started this back in, summer, making the business meetings, and before our city got big. Congratulations.
We're proud to hear it, that's for sure.
I guess what I'd like to see, I've been to all the meetings I think I can take. And that's just me. I don't know about anybody else, but I have to go to the potty a lot. But what I was wondering, do we have everything in tiers figured out? What you're going to do?
Well, it's a work in progress, but we feel good about it.
And Center City, downtown revitalization, DAI. I've read through the comprehensive book several times. You, Kelly, you left out 33 pages on me, and I don't know how that happened on that section 1. And, you know, when we fixed up, I think 3 and 4, page 4 and 5. And then when I got on the internet to get all that in that booklet y'all gave us, that spiral booklet, well, it showed that chapter just going like 9 pages, but there were actually 33. It wasn't no big deal. It was, if anyone got that booklet, it's going to be incorrect. You know, that we gave out. But what I feel is, why don't you just do it? Whatever you got planned, let's go to May election with it. See what happens. To me, we're at that point. We can discuss. We can. I live on south, way off from the area, but I feel like I'll be affected. One of the issues is I've seen is people stopping at the intersection taking pictures of signs, and I assume they're with that new sign design that we have. For one thing, stopping at the intersection on 34th and Western, taking pictures of signs. I don't know if that's related to what's going on the signs or not. But my deal is each person that I've been with represents hundreds of votes, and they're in the thousands. And so I just would ask that you listen to the side I support with our property rights, because property rights means a lot to me. I had some rights violated in Colorado, and that's one reason I came. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Good to see you again. Hi.
Madam Mayor, Commissioner, my name is Todd Bailey, 1706 South Polk, and got a business at 110 South, Southeast 12. So we're in the red zone, our residents, but I'm not in the red zone. I'm an Amarillo resident, and I live downtown. Okay, I think that's definably different than any other part of the city. Next door to me to the north is a junior league. Across the street from me is a psychologist. Nobody wants to park in front of there because that makes me crazy. They park in front of my house. Masons are there. There's an attorney down here. There's a hair salon down the street. I don't live in Wolfland. I moved here a year and a half ago. We chose to live downtown. We wanted that type of environment. We made a pretty good sized investment. It's big for us, anyway. We love our home. It's built over 100 years ago. Avery Turner built it. It's a big money pit, like all the other ones. But it means a lot to us. It means a lot to us that our investment be protected. It means a lot to us that inappropriate uses don't come in across the street or next door or down the block. And, you know, we've got a standard that's been put in place that I think, although I'd like it to be stronger, I think it's got a chance to protect our investment and help guide the redevelopment downtown. So I would just ask you, leave it in place. Let's let it go for a while. Let's see if what happened, you know, what we want to happen happens. Are we going to see more development? Are we going to see increased property values? I sincerely hope so. I believe so. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much for your input. Yes, sir. Hi.
Hi. I'm Jimmy Presley Hammond, and I live at 1514 South Pierce. I ain't gonna talk about the noise tonight. It seems to me like y'all could figure out on how to do this deal without harming people from out of town. I mean, you know, it seems to me like all throughout the years, decades, y'all have kept on copying Fort Worth and Dallas.
Mr. Hammond, could you take your glasses off, please, sir? Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. I have for a reason why it's hurt my eyes.
Oh, they do.
Both of
I'm
them,
sorry, go
give
ahead.
y'all look at it, I don't want to give you. But, you know, instead of copying Fort Worth and Dallas, why don't you copy Albuquerque and build something like Old Town out on the east side of town where there ain't no homes, ain't nothing but prairie dogs out there. And if you do build all this stuff downtown, what makes you think people are gonna come to it? I mean, the mall's done downtown and it ain't gonna, you know, it ain't gonna come back. It ain't gonna come back, it ain't gonna happen. You know, a way you could do it is keep downtown, fix up downtown from 3rd Street block by block, and have it paid some itself off. Then, if you want the homes on the other side of 10th Street, give everybody a fair market price. And put it on the ballot. If the citizens of Amarillo want me to sell my house and build something on it for the city, I'd be more than willing to sign the deed. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Good to see you. Let's see.
Can I go ahead and type my?
Yes, ma'am.
Charlene Tyler, 906 South Crockett. And the lady that moved here from New York, she said it's gentrification. Many downtown residents describe it as economic eviction of lower income residents through increased property taxes and costly regulations. Lower income residents, in response, sell their homes at distressed prices and move to poorer neighborhoods. This is not what we want for our people. We appreciate you taking the consideration for taking residents out of the downtown urban design standards. But with the flick of your pen, you put the residences in. With the flick of your pen, you took the paint and fences out. And with another flick of your pen, you can put those residents right back in. Property rights are here. Property rights are for all. Property rights for all are at stake here, whether we be downtown or residential. George Washington said, private property and freedom are inseparable. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Cute kiddos.
Thank you. And loud. I've jotted down a few notes here.
Okay.
Tried to gather my thoughts.
We just need your name and address.
Carl Taylor Restine, 721 Short Street. As the upper and middle class move into this area, as the City Commission has said it wants, property taxes will go up. They will go up to the point that some or many homeowners will be forced to leave the memories they have in their homes of raising families, Christmases together, etc. But as one of you, the City Commissioner, who is here to do what is in the best interest of the families of Amarillo, told us not too long ago, talking about low socioeconomic families. If they can't afford to live there, they have the right to move. Also, we were told by this City Commission that you are trying to restore these neighborhoods to the socioeconomic levels as they once were, to middle and upper socioeconomic levels. Some may think that you have something against the lower socioeconomic, that they don't have the right to live among us and must be banished to the poor parts of town. Ms. McCart, you yourself during a City Commission meeting said that if this goes to a citywide vote, it would fail. We do have this on videotape. It sounds like y'all know that the majority of the city is against this. Why then are you forcing this upon us? Or to put it like many others have put it this evening, why are you shoving this down our throats? Thank you.
I know it's a debate, but I know that Trey, you've been taking film. I've heard that before. I don't believe I ever said that. I'd sure like you to find that for me and let me see that, okay?
What?
Whatever. We do have it on tape. Okay, I'd love to see it. We will.
You were talking to Commander, what's his name?
Seeger.
I can't imagine I would say that, but
Yeah.
I'd love to see you.
Okay, I can
Yes,
do that.
yes, ma'am. Hi.
My name is Melanie Davidson. I live at 2607 South Hazen Street. It is not inside the red zone, but it is in a historic part of Amarillo. And it's funny because I hear so much of the discussion tonight seeming to be a division between socioeconomic groups. It's very funny because I live in what I think is a nice neighborhood in Amarillo. It's an older neighborhood with older homes. And as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, how can we get these standards in our neighborhood? Because I live in a neighborhood where you're allowed to rip up the sidewalks. I live in a neighborhood where you're allowed to tear down trees, which is not in keeping with the look and feel of this older neighborhood. And it's perplexing to me as to why people would not want to protect their environment. And so, being in an affluent neighborhood and being in an old neighborhood with brick streets and that kind of thing, it urges me to take action and say, how can we get these things implemented in my neighborhood? Because it's not about socioeconomics to me. It's about creating an environment. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. No.
Jean Carter, 1610 Harrison. We started a neighborhood association some years ago with a vision of trying to preserve the area, and it's very, very difficult. I so appreciate the City Commission helping us to further this and keep this part like we hope it will be and will continue to be. Very much appreciate the City Commission's efforts in this area. Thank you.
Yes. No.
Hello, my name is Brian Staples. I live at 514 Southeast 14th Avenue, Apartment B. And just on a personal note, I'm against a certain development because I rent down there. I'm a college student and I rent real cheap. I'm only paying about $300 a month. I'm afraid that this was going to affect, the landlords, increasing my rent and everything. And I'm living there really cheap and stuff. And I'm getting by real good. And that's all I got. Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you. Good luck at school. Let's see. Are we at the end here? Well, Alan, just one time is all. I'm sorry. No. You've already spoken. I'm sorry. Okay, twice. Anybody else that hasn't spoken to speak? Yes, sir. No.
I figure since I'm going to write about a $300,000 check for property taxes, I'd throw in about 2 cents.
Name and address, please.
Dan Rogers, 506 South Lipscomb. I've just been sitting here kind of observing the whole thing and listening. I have yet to understand exactly what your urban renewal zone is going to do for all the concerns that people expressed, which was primarily that they don't want things going in their neighborhoods that they don't approve of, like mobile homes and metal buildings. And I don't understand how this is going to resolve any of those problems that we currently have. And I think I mentioned this before. To me, your time as elected officials ought to be better spent listening and believing in the individuals. All these people that got up here and talked about they bought their house, they improved it, without government telling them what to do and how to do it. And I think if those individuals elected you all, so you all need to decide if you believe in the individual or not, and spend your time enforcing the rules and regulations that we currently have, cleaning up the crime, the graffiti, and getting rid of these bums that we have downtown that are running businesses out of downtown. People don't want to go downtown or put their business down there because of all the riffraff. You know, we've created these feeding centers for stray cats, and they just keep coming in. Nobody has a problem helping those people out. but that needs to be moved out of downtown, or you're never gonna get people from down there, no matter how much regulation that you put in it. But as I own a lot of rental property and that sort of thing, and to me, you know, we fix it up, we do everything, and I don't want anything to do with the government. So to me, what you're going to do is you're going to have the opposite effect in that area that you think you will, because people don't want to be regulated. They're going to put their business outside, and you could, in fact, hurt property values in that area, and it could become more of a problem than it is currently. I just think you need to think about it.
Yes, we've been thinking for a few years on this. Thank you so much, Mr. Rogers. Okay, anybody else that hasn't spoken? Okay, if not, we really appreciate it. That's why we have this, so we can hear everyone. That's why we're listening to everyone and not just one side or the other. So we appreciate everyone's input. We will take this. Our staff has been taking notes, and we will certainly come back with a decision. And I appreciate DAI for understanding that we're going to work together with everyone. And we're really trying hard to make this city the best it can be. So, we don't make a motion on this, but we do have one last thing that we always like to do after this meeting is adjourned here. But we will open up the floor for anyone that would like to talk about anything that's not on today's agenda. We always do that at the end of every meeting. The floor stands open for that if you have anything that's not on the agenda today. Yes, sir.
Can I just come up there?
Yes, sir. Okay. And name and address again, please.
All right.
My name's Bill Skidmore, I live at 1607 South Taylor. Y'all, I've been wanting to say something to y'all for a while. Every time they have a parade or a walkathon or something, it's through our neighborhood.
Oh.
And, you know, that's fine, but they make parks and they've got places they can have that. And there have been times I work midnight, come home, I can't even park. I've got to park way down the street and walk. And, you know, I think they ought to consider having, you know, they can't do away with them, but don't use the residential neighborhoods for that.
Thank you for telling us. Anybody else? Anything that's not on the agenda today? If not, we really do appreciate everyone for coming. We really do, and this has been a good meeting, and this is what we're about, is listening. So thank you all for coming, and this meeting stands adjourned.